Good morning, Moray Rabotai. We are continuing on Shulchan Aruch Harachaim, Hilchot Tfilah Siman Sadi, and we are up to Seif Chaf Aleph on Daf Kuf Chaf Gimel Amud Bet of the regular prints of Mishna Berura. Maran writes, and this is straight out from the Gemara on Daf He Amud Bet. The Gemara says that the person should not have anything blocking them in front of them when they daven. So Maran writes, Sarich shelo yeheh davar chotzes beno uben akir. Nothing should be blocking you between you and the wall. We learned this halacha from Chizkiyahu HaMelech. Chizkiyahu HaMelech was ill. He was the best king that we had after David HaMelech, perhaps. We spoke about him actually this morning in the Gemara Shir, that he turned the tide, and all of Klal Yisrael turned around the community of Avodah Zarah to a community of not just frum people, but Talmidei Chachamim, that all the kids knew the entirety of Torah. Tremendous person. The Gemara says in Sanhedrin was supposed to be Mashiach. It wasn't because of one technicality that didn't work out. He was supposed to be the Mashiach, right? So, but he was ill and he was on deathbed because HaKadosh Baruch Hu was unhappy with one thing that he didn't do, and he sends Yeshaya Navi to tell him that Ki met ata v'lo tichya, you're going to die, you're not going to live, whatever the Gemara darshins on that. And he says to Yeshaya Navi, he says, Ben Amos, go out because I'm not giving up on life. I have a tradition from David HaMelech that you never give up on tefillah. And he says he kicked him out. He started davening. He turned to the wall and he davened to Hashem, the famous davening of Chizkiyahu HaMelech that ended up working for him, and 15 years were added to his life. Miraculously, a tremendous story in the Gemara, really fascinating agada of the Gemara there. But the Gemara dashes and learns from that a halacha that you should not have anything blocking between you and the wall, and that makes it as a seif in Shulchan Aruch. It's a halacha. If you have something that's set, that's not moving, it's part of the furniture. It's an aron. It's a table that never moves in front of the wall, or a stender that's stationary, a large one that's not moving. That's not considered a chatzisa. The Rema adds, what is considered a mechitza? Something that's at least a tet tefachim high, and is arbat tefachim wide, width of arbat tefachim. Davar katar, but you have a small item, lo chashiv hefsek. That's not considered a hefsek. You have a little something there. It's not considered hefsek. Something larger, that's considered a hefsek. To be careful. Now, says Maran, back to Shulchan Aruch, v'chen ba'alei chayim enav chotzetzim, afilu adam eno chotzes. Even ba'alei chayim, they're not chotzes. So if you have a person in front of you, so Shulchan Aruch says nothing should be in front of me, so I should go mamash by the wall, right? Aside from the fact that that's not always practical, it's not necessarily choses. A human being, says Maran, is not choses. Now Rema says, Rema says, to me it seems that Ba'al Chayim are choses, ve'adam eno choses. Only human beings are not choses. So if you have another creature in front of you, a Ba'al Hay, an animal, that's not considered proper conduct of tefillah. You should go in a way that there's no barrier of Ba'al Chai in front of you. Okay, says the Mishnah Berura, as the pasuk says, Vayasev Chizkiyahu panav el akir veitpalel. Pasuk that we mentioned, the story that we brought from the Gemara in Daf Hei Masechet Brachot, umikol makom ein ze ela lemitzvah min hamuvchar. This is not an obligation. This is a mitzvah min hamuvchar. It's very different. Sometimes you have something you're obligated to do. Sometimes it's the best way of doing it. This is not an obligation. But this is mitzvah mina mufchar, is the best way of doing the mitzvah. You're supposed to try to do it that way. Velet be'isura, if you don't do it, there's no isur. If there is the only place that you can stand is a place that has a chatzitza in front of it, okay, it's fine. You don't have to go out of your way and drive yourself crazy. You could daven. Okay. If it's not easy to daven in front of a wall, sometimes you have a small room and there are people davening there. Not everyone could stand without any chatzitza. There are furniture there, there are other things there. It doesn't fit. There are only a few people who could stand without chatzitza towards the wall. So you end up standing in front of a chatzitza, it's fine. I'm not going to daven over here because of this. That's not necessary. You don't have to go to a different room to daven. But at the end of the day, when you have a chatzitza in front of you, you should close your eyes. Not to be defocused, not to be distracted. You close your eyes, or put your eyes into the sidur. This way you will be focused on the words, you won't be focused on what's going around, and you won't be distracted. Don't look outside. In order that you should not become distracted with what's going on in front of you. Now, the Mishnah Berura is going to bring soon the words of Zohar HaKadosh, that according to Zohar HaKadosh, is a tremendous thing not to open your eyes. To have closed eyes during the Tefillah of Shemona Esrei is a big thing. We learned this from Moshe Rabbeinu. Shekhinah is in front of you, is derech eretz to close your eyes. But nevertheless, some people can't daven b'kavanah if they're not davening from the sidur. So that, of course, will be understood that they're going to be davening from the sidur. But either you close your eyes or within the sidur, even though that you don't have a chatzitza in front of you. But here is an additional point, that even if you do have the sidur, you can daven with kavanah. Otherwise, because you have chatzitza in front of you, because you have stuff going on, close your eyes or put your eyes in the sidur is an additional reason, because you don't want to be distracted. You don't want to be defocused from the tefillah. Beno ben akir, between you and the wall. Even if you are far from the wall, from here until the wall there, but there's nothing in front of you, that is, says the Mishnah Berura, even then, you should be careful that nothing should be between you and the wall. So it's not just when you're standing immediately after the wall that you don't want to have anything. Even if you're far from the wall, you still don't want anything to be between you and the wall. גם כן יש להיזהר שלא יחוץ בינו לקיר, והפרי מגדים מסתדר לומר דעים, החציצה הוא לארבע אמות, ממנו רשות אחרת היא ושרי. The Pri Megadim says maybe if the chatzitza is something that is outside chutz la'arba amot, is outside my arba amot, that already is considered mutar because it's a different reshut already.
What about a window? Is there an issue with respect to a window?
So what?
If there's a window in front of you, is there an issue with respect to a window?
No, actually it's a good idea to have a window. We had this in the previous Siman, that actually in this Siman, earlier on, that it's important to have windows in the shul in the direction that you daven, direction of Mizrach. It's actually something that Mishna Berura said you have to choose a shul that has windows in Mizrach and towards the Echal versus a shul that doesn't. That's how important it is, because you want to sometimes be able to look at Shamayim and Av Kavanah, but you don't want to, if there's a lot going on in the yard, so to speak, in front of you, so stay a little bit farther, in other words, in a way that you don't see the distraction, you only have the ability to look at Shamayim and get inspiration and Yirat Shamayim from that ability, as we discussed the details of this in the previous shurim. So,
what about people who daven behind the mechitza?
So again, the mechitza that is 10 tefachim high and on, and again, it's stationary, the mechitza. then
Is it part of, are they considered part of a minyan if they daven behind?
that's a different question. We have discussed this a little bit. We're going to discuss this a little bit more. We spoke about Ezrat Nashim, we spoke about Mechitzas. Perhaps if there is the same ceiling, it's not going all the way until the top. It's considered one room, and so on and so forth. But again, let's stick to the concept.
If it's tinted window, that's an issue, right? Where you can see a reflection.
That's a different problem. We're not talking about we're not finishing the entire Shulchan Aruch in one day, but those are other problems that you cannot, it's not mutar to daven in front of a mirror. It's asur to daven in front of a mirror. Now, a tinted window is not a mirror. So therefore, it's not necessarily asur, forget about tinted window. Any window at night will become a tinted window because you have no light outside. This is physics, right? If no light outside or less light outside than inside, will act like a mirror. You could see your own image in the regular glass window. So what's the halacha? Or the Sion students, they write that as long as you close your eyes, that's fine. In front of an actual mirror is asur to daven even if you close your eyes because it looks like you're bowing down to yourself, right? Even if you happen to be God's gift to humanity, and which everyone is, and so on, but still bowing, it looks like you're bowing God to yourself. That's very inappropriate. But when you have a glass that's not it's not made to be a mirror, so then it doesn't look like you're necessarily bowing down to yourself, but still it's very distracting. You're seeing your own image there. So therefore, you close your eyes, says Rabbi Shaul, that would be mutar to daven, given that you close your eyes and you're not distracted by it. But again, l'chatchila, you should not do that. L'chatchila, the shuls that have that problem, they should have a curtain or a blind or some sort of something to block that at night when people daven in front of the mirror. And again, small things like a sheer, small, like even a thin sheer curtain would do that too. Doesn't have to be a full curtain to take care of that. Something very simple could take care of the problem. So says the Mishna Berura. Now, before that, if a person davens in an open field, that we spoke about this before, you should still be makpid to daven in front of an amud or something, right? So, for instance, you daven in a yard. This happened a lot in COVID. People daven in the yards and outside and so on. Still would be an inyan to find a pillar or something to daven in front of it, or even in the shuls, like when you go to a shul and you don't want to go in the front because the rabbi is there, is uncomfortable, or it's already it's a very high in demand real estate, the first row in the Mizrach or in yeshivot. Sometimes the whole Mizrach is only for Rebbeim and Rashi Yeshivot. So what do? Well, if they have pillars in the Beit Mikdash, in the shul, like especially if they have wider ones, you stand in front of that and daven. That's considered like in front of the wall, and that's fine as well. So that's for someone that's davening outside. Also, it's important to look for that type of thing, if at all possible. Now, we mentioned that even if you're far from the wall, you should be careful. Nothing should be in between you and the wall. And the Pri Megadim we mentioned that is more lenient. That if it's outside the 4 amot is already considered fine, and the Ben Ish Chai also paskins the same way. So Ben Ish Chai paskins like the tzad of the Pri Megadim and Magen Giborim, that you could be lenient and daven even if outside your 4 amot there is a blockage between you and the wall, it still would be fine. This is the Ben Ish Chai in his other sefer, Od Yosef Chai, in Parashat Yitro, that he discusses this. So it says the Mishnah Berura weiter. V'teva, we mentioned in the Shulchan Aruch that if you have, let's say a large box in front of you, then it's not considered chatzitza because it's something kavua, something stationary. So mitot shelanu hasyot l'shchiva en derech letaltalan. A bed If you're davening at home, for instance, can you daven in front of your bed? The bed is between you and the wall, right? So says the Chafetz Chaim, we don't move our beds. It's not what we do. It's stationary, basically, and therefore it's considered davar kavua. It's not considered chasisa. You could stand in front of your bed. The bed is between, between you and the wall, and that's fine. But yesh cholkim, says Mishna Berura, there are those who disagree with this, and therefore better to be machmir when it's possible. So if you could go to the side of the bed and stand mamash in front of the wall, chazak baruch. That's what you should be doing in the chatchila because of the machloket that is there. Now the Ben Ish Chai and Kaf HaChaim, they paskin that the beds are fine, like the first mandamar that the Chafetz Chaim brings in Mishna Berura. They're lenient that our beds are not movable, basically, and they're considered stationary, and they're not chatzisa, and it's just fine to daven in front of your bed. And Kaf HaChaim writes that a person should be machmir if possible, that nothing, mamash nothing, should be between you and the wall, even if it's something that is there as a fixed item, still should be not there. So now this nafkamina of the Kaf HaChaim is when you have this like large shtenders in some of the Batei Midrash, standing shtenders, whether or not you're going to have them or not in front of you. Like many rabbanim, rashi yeshivot, the minhag is to be mekel. The minhag is to be mekel. That the stand-up shtenders, the tall, floor shtenders, they are used actually for having more kavanah in the tefillah, especially on Yom Kippur. You have the whole thing, you don't know the whole thing by heart. You want to have the sidur, and you want to be holding the heavy machzor for an hour standing there. So they have shtenders. But Kaf HaChaim says l'chatchila, if a person is all odds even, says the Kaf HaChaim l'chatchila, you shouldn't even have that. So you'll find certain tzaddikim, certain people who are very meticulously careful about halachot. You'll see that they have a shtender, but they put the shtender away, and they stand in front of the bookshelf, in front of the wall, mamash, for Shemona Esrei only. And you wonder to yourself, why don't you just you were using the shtender for all the tefillah beforehand, why are you putting it away? All of a sudden it's because of this Kaf HaChaim, for Midat Chasidut. But again, it's like many other things, the delicate balance you have to keep in mind. If you're going to be holding the sidur and you have no kavanah because you can't focus well and so on and so forth, then it becomes a toss-up. It's something that, like many other things, is a delicate balance that the person has to keep in mind. And Be'ezrat Hashem, we will be continuing the next ifim in the days to come.